Alright, so yep, recording is started, and I'll be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about. Alright, so we'll talk about some aggression stuff of knowing when to like go in and kill stuff, and then after we're done here, are you seem to be flickering up and down your shield. Are you attempting to do shield hopping? Or like did you like see that in a YouTube video somewhere, or can you maybe explain what you're attempting to do when you're flickering your shield?
I think someone once told me that if I do this, it won't break as fast, and I struggle with my shield breaking very
Okay.
fast.
So I'll basically you're like halfway there with it. I'll show you again after we're done here how you can do that a little bit better. Of how you can like use it to basically how you can use it just more efficiently.
Okay, thank you.
All right now I'm just kind of accumulating things to talk about, and then we'll go over most of them in the training range after the game's done.
Okay.
Okay. Big thing for the moment I'm seeing is just make sure we're looking to go and swing on stuff. Reinhardt likes to swing his hammer, and because he is what you call a brawl character, he likes to be in close and on top of people. So we want to make sure that we are pushing forwards and swinging on people more often, especially at the very beginnings of fights, whereas a lot of times it's looking like we just kind of sitting around. So we want to look to be doing that more often here.
Oh shit.
Yep. Usually you're just going to want to make sure that there's most time more than one person lined up in front of you, like two plus, right? Also just make sure they're not dead, right?
Okay. Yay.
Okay, again, this is a time where you're just kind of sitting on cart shielding when you probably want to be pushing forwards and swinging on stuff, right? Just being aggressive and doing things rather than just sitting. Alright, and we're done the game. So, I'm going to stream over on Discord if you would like to take a look, and I'm going to go into the training range here.
Yes.
Alright, so first off, basic just play style of Reinhardt. So far, we're doing a whole lot of shielding. Reinhardt as a character has times where he shields and times where he doesn't. And right now we're just shielding a little bit too often, right? So like just kind of right now we're just looking at how aggressive are you playing versus how passive are you playing. And we're playing just a little bit too passive most of the time here. Like I mentioned in game, and I'm going to go a little bit more into depth now on that, is Reinhardt likes to swing on things. That's just how his character works. If you're playing a character who just likes to sit there and shield, you're going to be much better off on a character like Orisa or Sigma because they can shield and shoot, and they can shield and use abilities, right? They're a lot more diverse like that, whereas Reinhardt can only shield or do something else. So what Reinhardt prefers to do as a character is he prefers to swing and do stuff, and then if he's low or he needs to shield, then he backs up, right? So let's go over some situations where shielding is necessary because it's not necessary all the time, and so far it's looking like we're just kind of constantly holding it up. So situations where shielding is necessary are when we are low, of course, like when our health is low, we need our shield. When our team is low, they need our shield so we don't die, of course, right? When we're blocking ultimates, when we're blocking abilities, when we are when we are taking space and when we are leaving space, and then those are the main ones, right? When we're pushing forwards and we're backing up. those are the main times shield is necessary, and most of the other times we're just kind of not really doing anything in particular with it. So like playstyle wise, our playstyle would kind of look like this, where like the enemy team was in there and they're all standing there. We just kind of sit here, and we'd sit here, and we sit here, and then we'd go in and swing, and then we'd back up, and we'd sit here, and we'd sit here. Whereas what our playstyle should look like is we go in aggressive right off the bat, right, just right at the very beginning. We go in, we swing, we do stuff, right, and then once we see that we're low, then we can shield and we can back up, right. And then we wait for we get healed back up, and then we re-engage, right. That's just how Reinhardt kind of wants to work. Now I want to look at it again, but I think that I didn't see too much fire striking. I like to see fire strike coming off of cooldown, so just every single time you get it, it just is coming out, because it's going to be a really good source of damage that you can land from anywhere. It's also going to be a really good source of ult charge, so you want to just have that coming out off of cooldown just every time you get it. And then besides that, let's go over shield hopping real quick. So right, what you were doing was we were kind of walking in a straight line going like this, right? Now, this is still probably more effective than just doing this, because if we're walking around going like this, we're moving very, very slowly, and like you said, they're eating up a lot of our shield. What shield hopping looks like is when you actually jump and shield. Now, what this does is it's actually going to speed up your movement much faster than just, shielding doing this will. You're going to be moving a lot faster, and whenever you're taking space faster and you're out in the open less, that's going to mean you take less damage, right? Like, if they're all the way over there and they're shooting at us, the faster we close this distance, the less they get to shoot at us, right? So the faster we're going, the better. Look to shield hop whenever you're trying to take space, so we're trying to move it up forwards fast, and we can also do this backwards if we're trying to leave space. So if we're in here and we're trying to back up, like let's say we're low HP, we might want, might back up like this, right, and shield hop backwards. And this is a tech you can learn to do in the training range, right? And then on top of that, like your friend had told you, it's also going to preserve your shield by not putting it up as often, right? So it does those two effects. It makes you go faster while still shielding, and then also preserving your shield, right? Those are the main ones. Shatter, again, like I said, I only saw one of them, and the only thing is just making sure you can hit more than one person. And then, yeah, besides that, why don't we get into kill feed watching right away, because I think I'm already it's already something we're gonna have to go over at some point. So why don't we just get into it now? So how to tell whether or not a fight is won or lost comes down to paying attention to the kill feed, which is the top right corner of your screen. When your team is up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage. When you have an advantage, you can play more aggressively, right? Because when they have less people to shoot at you and to heal and to tank, therefore you can get more aggressive because you have less people to deal damage to you, right? So you can go in, go forwards, right? Do things. When you are up 2 to 3 people, that is a one fight. When you have won a fight, you want to be playing super aggressive because now they're down even more people. You don't want to use ultimates in a lost fight, or sorry, in a one fight, because when you've won a fight, it's just overkill to use your ultimate. And then also on top of that, or actually, sorry, there was nothing on top of that. So this also goes the exact opposite way, right? When you are up, or I'm sorry, I'm mixing my words here. This also goes the exact opposite way when you are down 1 to 2 people. That is a disadvantage. When you are at a disadvantage, you might want to play a little bit more passive, right? You might want to back up and shield a little bit more, right? You might not want to be playing so aggressive, but you still want to be, you didn't lose the fight yet, right? It's just you're just losing the fight, so you still want to be in there fighting. Now, when you're down 2 to 3 people, that is a lost fight. At that point, now you're no longer using ultimates, and you're either looking to get out if possible, or you're just letting them kill you, right? That way you don't stagger yourself. Are you familiar with the term staggering?
No, sorry.
No, you're good. No need to apologize. Staggering is essentially in this game is just dying late. So when you die late, right, that has negative consequences. So that means that your team either has 2 decisions. Either they wait for you, in which case you've just wasted time, Or if they don't wait for you, now they're running in while you're in spawn, so they're all the way up there, and you're over here, and then they're gonna die in the next fight when they're at a disadvantage, right? And then that can also start stagger trains, where then they die, and then you go in, and then you die, and then it keeps going over and over and over again, which isn't very good. So, just want to make sure that's not happening. So you can go ahead and get into another game now.
Yeah, that's so interesting. But staggering? Sorry.
Yep, staggering.
Yeah, because I always thought that it would be the other way around because we're trying to make them waste time. But no.
No, yeah, you're trying to get the enemy team to waste time. You're not trying to get yourself to waste time, though, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that makes
like
sense.
you don't want to waste time for your team because then that's not very effective, right? So that's why if you remember, I said when you've won a fight, you want to push forwards and stagger them. So what that means is like if you push forwards and you kill the people who are lagging behind and the stragglers, if you may, if you get those guys, then that means that you stagger them, and then that's more ult charge. It means that you're gonna stagger them and waste their time, right? But you don't want that to happen to your team.
Yeah.
All right, I'm spectating.
Okay. And just a couple more things. The first one, well, you mentioned that maybe Orisa I would like. I used to play her, but I felt like I wouldn't do much with her. And another friend told me that if I wanted to like carry games, Reinhardt would be the better option.
Yeah, so I wasn't necessarily saying that she's gonna work for you. I'm saying that if that play style is something that you want to stick on in general, of like, if someone were not you in specific, but if someone were to want to play Reinhardt like that, you'd be better off playing Orisa. Not to say that you need to play Orisa or anything like that. Reinhardt's completely fine. You just want to change up how you're playing him if you're gonna play him.
Okay. And another thing, at the beginning of last game, at the beginning you said that we would talk about positioning, because I don't know if you saw me struggling on if I should keep going or.
Yeah, so that's kind of whether or not to go in or not is kind of like an aggression thing of like how fast should I be playing, and yeah, we'll definitely get into that as I see it coming. So I'll bring it up if it comes up. Alright, I like that we got aggressive right off the bat there. That was really good. Yep, we can keep pushing. Like right now, we're up a bunch of people. We just want to keep going and getting the stagger kills. Like right there, you want to keep pushing and get that baby diva. That way she staggers, right? Because that was just a stagger.
Right. Oh, okay, great.
Okay, make sure that when you're low HP that you're requesting healing. That's going to let your supports know where you are and get you healing faster and easier, right? Because it gives them an in-game audio cue as to where you are. Then on top of that, right as the fight began, it looks like we pushed a little bit forwards past our team, kind of around the corner. So we want to make sure that we're staying in our team's line of sight so that they can see us and heal us easy and help us out, not pushing too far.
Oh shit.
Alright, so two things. First off, in that instance, probably a really good play to go for would have been to just get rid of the bubble by swinging at it and damaging it, and then chattering. Right now, if you look at their team composition, they have nothing that can stop your shatter except for the monkey bubble, right? Nothing at all. So that means
I was waiting for that, but I kind of fucked it up.
Yep. So in that situation, we just kind of stop swinging. So maybe we can swing to damage it down. Right now we're walking in without our team. So if you remember, like what we talked about with with how many people we have. If you're walking in when it's a 1v6, that's essentially walking into a lost fight before it's begun, right? So we want to make sure we're not walking in if we don't have teammates, so make sure we're looking around us and behind us before you're pushing in aggressively.
Okay.
Okay. So the bubble is down. As soon as that breaks, then we can go for a shatter whenever.
Oh shit.
Okay. There, if Monkey's charging you into their punching into their team, consider charging back into him, right? How is he supposed to punch you if you're charging in his direction, right? He's just gonna end up getting pinned, and then that can help you get back to your team and not into their team. While you're walking back from spawn, use your charge to move faster, so you're getting back faster. Well, not maybe pinning the point might not be as effective, but especially when you're just coming out of the door, that's gonna be a really effective way to get back faster while also being safe about it.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, there, did you use your turn your camera angle while shielding, or because you did a really fast flick around?
Oh, here.
I can't see it. From the spectator's point of view, I don't think.
Oh yeah. It was just to see if there was enemies behind me.
Okay, well that's a really good thing to use. I mean, not even a lot of people at higher ranks don't use that, so that's really good. I was just wondering because it was like there's a weird flick and it didn't show that on my screen.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, in that instance, you have two different options. Just shield or pin him. You're not gonna be able to do enough damage though just by swinging at him.
Okay. Yeah, I've never known what to do when that happens.
Yep.
Step right up. Moving the payload. Join me.
Kill confirmed.
Come out and face me.
I guess another thing I struggle with is how far should I go from the payload?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's fine to not go too far from the payload there. There's no issue with that. Fire strike before you go, that way you just get the extra, 100 damage and that potentially kills them there.
Should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
No issue with that. Yep, there we can keep playing aggressive. You have teammates with you, and they're down a bunch of people. It's just a baby diva and a monkey, right, versus you and multiple teammates. Now we might want to be a little bit careful because we're getting ulted, double ulted, right? Fire strike, right? We're not using fire strike nearly as often as we should. We're just kind of holding on to that a little bit often, and especially after you shatter, you want to use it. Also, it seems like paying attention to our health bars is needing a little bit of work, right? You want to make sure that we're shielding when we're low, right? That's one of the big things of determining our aggression along with kill feed watching is it's when do we have health and when we have shields, right? When we have health and when we have shields, we can play aggressive. When we don't, we need to have shield up and backing up, right? We're going to talk about some positioning stuff as well as other things after we're done here again. Okay. Hold down the button rather than just tapping it each time, because that's going to mean that you're just getting faster swings.
Oh, sorry?
What do you say?
What do I do, sorry?
Yeah, so just hold down the button rather than tap your left click, because you were tapping it, and then that meant that you were just going swing, swing, swing. Whereas if you hold it down, it's going to be a faster swing. All right.
Okay.
Now let's see. I'm going to do the same thing as before. I forgot to stop streaming, but it's fine. I'm still streaming.
Okay.
All right. Let's go over some positioning, and then we'll go over something else after we're done here. Oh, he's off the map. So, general positioning. This is positioning that applies to every single character in the game. Most games out there, or most FPS games out there, if we are standing right here, right, and there's the enemy team standing right there, and they're all looking at us and shooting at us, it takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now, from here, we are safe. There, you cannot shoot through solid objects. We're good, and therefore we are in a very, very safe position at the moment. But in that time it took us to walk here, we died. Whereas in this position, we can take half of a second to be on cover, right? Because we are so close to it, right? So therefore, voice crack, therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. When we're standing out in the open, we die. When we're not, we live, right? We stay alive longer, right? And there's a lot of different types of cover, right? We can use a slope like so. We can use, pillar, right? That way they can't see us. We can, whenever we're low HP or we just need to back up, we can use a corner like this. We can use random objects that are sitting around, right, as cover. That we can use the payload like that. Pillar, corner, doorway, corner, right? And then you can use high grounds as well as high. Reinhardt, honestly, Reinhardt's not the best on high ground. The high grounds are also really good for positioning wise because they all act as cover. They can see us, can't see us, can't see us, right? Top of that, most characters in the game can't get to you, and on top of that, you have a ton of visibility. We can see over there and over here and over there, right? And then we can also take high grounds for our teammates, but on from there, I feel like I was gonna say something else. Yeah, so that was just general positioning. Oh yeah, this is it. Also, just holding corners on tanks is always gonna be really good. As we get a couple different benefits from this. First off, notice how when you're holding a corner, your shield can go like halfway through it, or even more than that. And what that's gonna do for you is it's going to mean that they can only shoot at half of your shield, and therefore it takes a lot less damage from just spam, and then therefore it's going to stay alive longer. This also will encourage your team to, while also giving yourself good positioning, this will encourage your team to have good positioning as well. Now, especially at bronze, people aren't going to be paying attention to you as much and not listening to you because it's bronze, right? But the main tank still has, especially the higher up in ranks you go, but the main tank has the most say over where their team is positioned out of any other character in the game. You as Reinhardt have more say over your team's positioning than your Mercy does, right? So as a Reinhardt, you get this, if you're standing here, they're more likely to stand behind next to cover and have good positioning than if you're standing out in the open, right? And then, yep, that is pretty much it for that. So now on to survivability. Staying alive. We have died quite a bit, so and especially in that last game. And keep in mind that we're looking to cut out deaths, as each death is pretty bad for us. Whenever we die, we are not participate. We have 10 seconds of respawn and 10 seconds of time where we're walking back, and that's 20 seconds each death, right? Which really, really adds up. That means that every 3 deaths, that is an entire minute of gameplay that we're not just putting that we're not just basically being inactive, but we're also putting our team at a disadvantage, like we talked about before with the kill feed, right? So Us dying isn't going to be very good for us. It's not going to be very fun, and we want to look to cut them out of our gameplay. So what that means that take a look at your deaths and like why are you dying, and look to fix them, right? And look for the mistakes of why did I die, and try to work on it. At the moment, it's looking like a lot of them are coming from aggression. Like the 4 main areas where you can even be bad, like die from are mismanagement of abilities, um, awareness of not knowing what's going on around you, positioning, and then finally aggression. And main ones so far I would say or I guess honestly it's a mix of all of them. So far we just want to look to cut them out of our gameplay, right, and get better at those areas, and then therefore we'll be doing a lot better. And then just remember to just charge out a spawn, that way we get back sooner, right, and we can participate sooner. And then that is it, right? You can go ahead and get into another queue, and then if you had any of your questions, since I know you had some before.
No, I think everything is more clear now.
Alright.
Should I keep going with Reinhardt, or should I try main?
Yeah, it's whatever character you want to do here. So it looks like, and okay, so let's kind of get into that topic, I guess. Yeah, you can play whatever characters you want to review. Though my suggestion though is to try to, if you're trying to get better, to kind of pick a role and try to prioritize it. As you're not, when you play kind of split across a bunch of different characters, it's gonna spread out your play time. Now you're pretty new to the game, which means that you're kind of in that stage where you're figuring out what characters do I like. And if I look at like your career profile, you haven't even played like half the characters, right? So
Yeah.
honestly, there's not too much of a problem with it now, but I would encourage you to eventually, once you do find characters that you do really enjoy, to stick on one role and to stick, usually the best would be like 2 to 3 characters, because it's going to allow you to learn those characters the best and actually improve on them the easiest. Now, of course, like I said, when you're just starting out the game and you're figuring out which characters you like, play them all. That way you understand like which ones do I actually like, because if you have most of your time in like there's probably a third of the characters that you have less than an hour on. So right, you just want to get figure out which ones you like. So
Okay.
just my suggestion, but as of the moment we can go over whichever characters you like to go over.
I guess I could stick to Reinhardt then.
All right.
And maybe for another session, I'll let you know if I'm still wanting to learn.
Sounds good with me.
Okay.
All right, so why don't we go over strengths and weaknesses real quick?
Do I cancel search? Sorry.
What do you say?
Do I cancel the search or the queue?
No. We can do it I guess while we're just in this real quick.
Okay.
Because I usually do strengths and weaknesses with people. I'm trying to think through. Honestly, I don't even know if I need to do strengths and weaknesses here. Because no offense meant, but new players, while also being at the lowest rank, is gonna have a lot to work on, right? There's obviously a lot of content there in comparison to other people. So I might obviously there's no mechanics category on a Reinhardt, but it looks like pretty much we're just gonna be talking about pretty much even on like all of the different categories. Also I'm spectating you, by the way. Just to list them out real quick, just so you're aware of what those categories would be, is positioning, awareness, and awareness of just knowing what's going on around you. Then you have mechanics, which Reinhardt doesn't have mechanics. Then you have ability usage and ultimate usage. And honestly, it's looking like they're all pretty even-ish. I'd probably say maybe I would say that ability usage is looking like one of the ones that you're doing better on, that doesn't necessarily need as much work as some of the others, with positioning and awareness maybe taking the more important ends. Alright, so you want to make sure that as a Reinhardt, you're sticking with your team and you're not going in too far without them. So that you know that the tech that you know already that you can use to look behind you with your shield, you can do that to check behind you. But the other thing is just before you're about to push in and get aggressive, turn around and look behind you, right? Don't constantly look forwards and check, do I have my team with me? Whereas a lot of the times we've just kind of been running out into the open without our team with us, and we want to make sure that they're there with us, right?
Okay.
Okay, we're already up a person here. Right now we can just swing on D.Va. She's very, very far forwards.
Oh shit, I didn't mean to charge. Oh no.
Yep, just it's time to get aggro, right? Remember, when you have health and when you have shields, you're swinging. When you don't, you're not swinging, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was struggling with kind of looking at everything
Yep.
still.
And that's gonna come down to getting used to it, but that is awareness of like of seeing everything, right, and paying attention to everything. So right now you just want to make sure we're paying attention to kill feed and we're paying attention to the bottom left of where was our health at and what is the shield at. Yep, good transcendence, Zenyatta.
Oh, what did that do? I'm sorry.
No. I was talking to Zenyatta in the game.
Oh, that was sarcastic. Right?
What do you say?
That was sarcastic?
Sarcastic? Yeah, that was sarcastic.
Okay. Oh shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah, keep in mind that probably like 80% of deaths you're able to learn from, you're able to do something about, that you can improve and learn from and fix, but there's the other 20% where there's not really much you can do about them. Like that one, you got blown up in very, very fast, right? You died in super, super fast times, which meant that you didn't have much you could have done.
Oh my god. Damn it. I was too slow there.
Yeah, right now when we're down a bunch of people, we want to be looking to get out. Whereas what was wrong there was that we were down a bunch of people on the kill feed, but then we tried to push back in, and then that meant that they just staggered us, right? So that's the situation we're paying attention to kill feed. It's honestly look like awareness is looking like one of the higher priorities actually at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so okay, so that's round. Yeah, so actually I am going to get into strengths and weaknesses real quick. So awareness is definitely seeming like the biggest one, right? And then I'm going to combo that and say this is that category is awareness / aggression. And then those are the two most important things at the moment for you to learn and get used to, is just pay attention to everything and know what's going on, and then, make sure that we're getting aggressive and passive accordingly. Then second from there, I probably say comes at your positioning. Thirdly, comes at your ultimate usage, and then finally your ability usage comes in last. Or I might those last two are like maybe could go either way, but that's just kind of the order that we're working with and how important it is to work on those things. Charge out of spawn just to get to the point faster. That's going to allow you to take better positioning for your team sooner. But don't go too far because you might end up getting too far ahead of your team. Going to point is completely fine.
Okay. Shit. I guess I was
Yeah, so
behind the wall, yeah.
So in that situation, basically one of the problems was that, which I think it was miscommunicated, but by too far would have meant like on their side of the point, but we still wanted to be on point there, right? So just taking it faster would have been good for us.
Like around here?
Yeah, you definitely want to be, you definitely want to be in on point, right? Just that way you can actually control some space. All right, and then our shield got melted there. Getting better at the shield hopping is definitely going to help with that, right? It's going to allow us to keep our shield up longer. Also, don't feel like once we've taken that space, we need to immediately engage. I think we'll talk about swinging on corners a little bit as well, but there's some way. Essentially, there's ways in which we survive while also still playing aggressive. Whereas in the moment where we're trying to play aggressive and then we're just dying as a result, so we're gonna have to work on that. Okay, pay attention to the fact that we're down a bunch of people at the moment and we're trying to push in.
Okay.
Alright, yep. The whole time we just kind of pushed a little far forward, so we didn't have teammates with us. So we want to make sure when we're grouping up and we're letting our team come in with us, so we're not going too far ahead of them.
Everyone else is a nail.
Oh, nice attempts at the shield, or good, you know, doing the shield hop in there.
Oh,
That was really
I forgot about her being gold.
Keep going for the Moira over there, right? Instead of trying to chase the Orisa when Moira was shattered behind her. Alright, there we pushed slightly far forwards. It'd probably be better for us if we let them come to us and we sat on point. We're definitely going to talk, you know, have to talk a little bit more about cover usage, but the one of the biggest things so far this game is that, you know, we just explained the concept of cover usage, but we're still not implementing that as of yet, and therefore we're dying quite a bit and taking a lot of unnecessary damage because we're out in the open. So there's just a lot of times where we're not using cover quite properly, and then therefore we're taking extra damage. I'm streaming yet again here. So just extra cover usage advice, right? Is just rather than just going in and swinging like this, what we can do is we can swing on a corner where we can use the corner as cover while still swinging around it. Right? We can even kind of go in and out with our swings, like as our hammer is coming this way, where it's actually getting the most around this side, we're coming out and we're swinging, right? And then we're coming out and we're swinging, and then we're coming out and we're swinging right as the hammer's coming around the corner. Or we can just sit here and swing, but this way we're actually still doing damage. We're keeping them at bay while recharging our shield and using the cover, right? There's just not a lot of times that I'm seeing us use cover, and then therefore we're dying quite a bit. We're just constantly kind of out in the open. Make sure that when we're pushing and taking space that we're using pit stops. So that would mean that, like, if we're pushing through this wide open area and we're trying to go to point, we, instead of just going straight through this, right, instead of going straight through this and then going straight into the fight, right, instead what we're going to do is we're going to come from here and we're going to shield hop over here, and we're going to come to this cover, and we're going to use this. If we're low or we don't have shields, we're going to recharge them, get healed up, right, and then we're going to go to this corner, right, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to recharge, get healed, and then once we're ready, now we're going to push, right? So we just want to make sure we're taking some pit stops. We're not immediately going in, because that's what happens sometimes, and then we'd, like, by the time we got there, we just had 0 shield, right? And then we try to engage, and then we'd be dead, right? Make sure not...
Yep. Sorry. No, sorry, I was going to ask.
Yep.
What happens if, for example, in last team that I was playing with a diva, if I do that, but I see that, like, my team needs a shield.
So if you're doing what and you see that your team needs a shield?
Like, that I go from there to another room? Because I know that I have to do that sometimes, but my instinct is like, oh, we don't have another shield. I need to, like, shield.
Okay, so well, theoretically here, your team should be pushing with you. Like your team should if you're going through this, your team should be coming with you over there. So you're saying like, what if I come over here and they're over there and they need healing?
Yeah, that happens a lot. They
Mhm.
don't really follow.
Okay. Well, if they don't really follow, that's their fault, right? You can't change that. It's gonna honestly be better for you if you're learning how to play the game to carry and to do things on your own, because this does a couple different things. First off, if you become more self-sufficient, it's going to mean that now you don't need as much healing. You don't need, like, if you're using cover properly, you're not going to need as much healing. You're going to survive longer. You're going to be doing more things, and when you're doing more things, you're getting more kills. You're getting more ultimates in. You're protecting your team for longer. And you know, if we're doing this pit stop fast and we're going in, theoretically, like it shouldn't really, our team shouldn't be taking a ton of damage. Like if they're that far backwards, and you're drawing attention up here, you theoretically they shouldn't be taking a bunch of damage. On top of that, you want to play as if you're at a higher rank, not play as if you're at a lower rank, right? So what that means, essentially, how I would say that is, you play for the rank you're aiming for, not for the rank that you're at. If you're saying I'm going to do this just because I can get away with it, or I have to do this because players at my rank are bad, then that means that you're going to get, if you ever do get to a higher rank, you're not going to be able to hang there, right? You're not going to be able to play with a higher rank in a higher rank lobby if you're not using higher rank strats, if you're not, you're not in the good habits, you're in bad habits, which will mean that you're just never going to be able to improve and get better. So you want to, get used to these things, even if it's not like, at first glance, the best for the current rank. It is the best in general. And on top of that, there are going to be teammates that maybe do come with you, and then those are going to be the games where you win. And like I said, I don't think that it's going to really be too, like even like the situation that you're presenting here. I don't think that they're going to end up dying if you're drawing sufficient protection, being at a sufficient distraction for them. Than if you're just shielding here. And let's go through this hypothetical example where you do sit here and shield for them. Well, now you've just shielded for them, and yes, they don't die, but now you're without a shield, and then we can't push, and then we die, and then our team doesn't do anything at all, right? So we've accomplished nothing while keeping alive, right? So even if we do stick with them, it's not going to be very, very beneficial for us. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, why don't we talk about just the application process of a couple of this, because we're talking about quite a bit of stuff here. Why don't we just talk about how we apply this stuff? And I think you can go ahead and get a cue while we do. But just the big thing that while we're going through all of this stuff is you want to make sure that we're focusing on it, right? That's really how you get better at anything that you're looking to improve on, is you want to make sure that we're thinking about it. We're not autopiloting. We're not just focusing on winning or focusing, just playing the play, but instead we're thinking about every move that we're making and taking, right? So what that would look like in our gameplay is if, for example, we're thinking about awareness, right? And we went awareness, 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 right? And that's what our brain looks like. When we do that, you're going to start to notice that your awareness starts to do a little bit better, because we're looking around a little bit more, because we're putting a lot of attention and thought and effort into it. And when you do that for a long enough period of time, it starts to form as a habit. Once it forms as a habit, you no longer need to put in as much effort, and then therefore you can put it into a different area, right? Now, don't try to focus on everything all at once, right? That's going to get overwhelming.
Oh, they got Reinhardt.
Oh, that stinks. Do you have another tank that you'd like to
Really?
play? Oh yeah, you can leave if you want. Yeah,
Oh,
it's up to you.
okay.
You can play Ryan, or you can play a different character. You can leave. That works.
I would like to play Saria too, because I was thinking that maybe I could have her as the second when this happens.
All right. Yep. So continuing, right? You just make sure you're not focusing on everything at once. Instead, focus on kind of one category of things, or 1 to 3 smaller things, and then that way you can look to improve on them.
Okay. Thank you.
Attack commencing. Capture objective A. No need to mess about.
There, just make sure it's spam shooting, right? You're just doing some damage, not sitting there just shooting at people. Okay. Right now we're not using our personal bubble. Make sure we're using our personal bubble so we can get energy. Energy is kind of the lifeblood of Zarya. We need to have that stuff.
Get in there.
Okay.
Alright. First, I want to prioritize energy usage. So, why energy is important? Energy is going to get you, getting good bubbles, right? Is going to get you tanking and is going to get you energy. Energy is going to get you kills and ult charge. Ult charge is going to get you ults and then therefore more kills. Kills gets you fight wins. Fight wins gets you game wins. So therefore, energy is going to do a ton to win you games. There's a very massive difference between having 0 energy and having 100 energy, and that starts from having good bubbles. Basically, you're bubbling anytime you see people shooting at us, right? Make sure we're using it as often as possible, but we're trying to use it when there's actually people looking at us, right? And shooting at us. We're also using, just the big one is we're using personal bubble very infrequently. We're also, sorry, I'm coming on a lot of different things here. We're also sitting like really far back. Be up more like right next to your Reinhardt. Basically like hug him. Stand right up at that distance. Like we're really far back at the moment.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep in mind the shielding. Like stand behind walls and stuff.
Yep. Which we can do from like up next to Reinhardt. We can also use him as, oh, what is he AFK?
Get in there.
Should I follow her?
Give me your best shot. Just a scratch. Double kill.
I am on fire.
Make sure you're reloading every time you have the opportunity.
Oh, I forget this a lot.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna have to talk about that too. So there's just a ton of going over a second hero is is a lot. Yeah, just keep. I'm just saying, just keep in mind that it's just a lot to go over when there's we're just going over a completely new character here too. So it might not. There's a lot of stuff.
Get in there.
Make sure we're using our ultimates and we're not holding on to them. We haven't been using a ton of them so far. Really fantastic grab once we did use it though. We just, like, in general, I haven't seen us use too many ultimates, and when we have them, we just want to make sure we're not holding on to them, right? Because ultimates that aren't used don't do anything. They don't get any value. We're so close to winning.
I know, like so stressed out. Oh, shit, right.
Okay, only issue there, we're really great grav and very high energy, but we used grav when we were down half of our teammates, right? Oh, we somehow still won the game. But
I don't know.
that was just a situation where we just want to make sure we're paying attention to kill feed. I'm streaming and we're going with practice range here. It seems
Oh my
as
god, I'm thinking. I'm
oh
sorry.
nice. You're good.
It just doesn't happen a lot.
Alright, so on Zarya, it seems as though we're misunderstanding her beam a little bit. Keep in mind her beam does have a range. It is not infinite, and that sometimes we're just kind of sitting here doing this when this is out of type of her range. Her range, you'll see that when you're doing damage, when you're within range, which is 15 meters here, when you see the health bar going down, when you hear it doing damage, and when you see the little white marks next to the next to your crosshair, that's called hit markers. When you see all of that happening, you know you're within your range, and it is 15 meters, like I said, so you're going to be able to damage from here. Anything outside of that, you cannot do any damage, right? Anytime you're outside of that range, just make sure you're right-clicking. That way we can do damage from a distance. And then anything within that is just left-clicking. Besides that, we can just quickly go into the main points of the session, and then usually I do a longer review, but not for those who have notes, because you can just go and look into the notes for the review. But yeah, we'll go over the main points of the session and then wrap up the session from there. So main points. Number 1, aggression/awareness, or awareness/aggression. Sorry, opposite order. Awareness feeds into your aggression. Make sure we're paying attention to our environment so that we can know when to go in and when to back out, right? You kind of have a scale, right? Usually you're going to sit right in the middle at 50, right? On 0 is too passive, or not too passive, but just passive, right? On 100 is aggressive, right? Usually you're going to want to sit right at 50. As of the moment, we're kind of all over the place. Sometimes we're way too passive where we're like 30, and then sometimes we're way too aggressive and we're like at 70 in wrong situations. But how it's going to work is we're going to kind of upscale and downscale according to our environment. So when we have 8 health and when we have shields, we're going to be at like 55, 60 maybe on a Reinhardt, right? We're going to be swinging and doing stuff. When we have a kill or two, when we have an advantage, we're upping it to like a 60, 70, right? When we've won a fight, we can go 80, 90, 100, right? When it is, again, right, it goes the opposite way. When we are, down 1 to 2 people, we bring it down from a 50 to like a 40 or 30, and when we're down 2 to 3 people, we're bringing it to a 20, 10, 0, right? Now when when we don't have our shield and we don't have health, then again, we're bringing it down, we're scaling it down, and we're bringing it down to like a, 40, 30, 20 maybe max. I don't think 40, 30 sounds pretty good, right? Where you're not going in, not playing as aggressive when we don't have it, right? And then we just want to pay attention to that, right? Pay attention to our environment and when we're winning or losing. Number 2 thing to work on is going to be our positioning. We're dying quite a bit because we're just kind of out in the open, right? We just want to make sure we're not out in the open, and we're also kind of on our Zarya there. We're kind of sitting really, really far back rather than being really far, being with our Reinhardt. So remember, you can be positioning correctly and be close to people still, right? So for example here, right, there's this positioning where we're back here and using cover, but there's also this up here where we're right up next to people while also still using cover, right? So there's cover usage pretty much everywhere, right? Cover, 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 right? It's just like all over the place if we're using it correctly, right? So we just want to be making sure we're using it, right? But we're also standing in the proper position. Make sure we're not in the open. Good positioning is usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. And then in number 3, we're going to put at ability usage, because on honestly, ability usage is bigger. And then especially like on Zarya, just make sure you're focusing on ability usage, one of the biggest things. Then ultimate usage comes in last, though the biggest thing with ultimate usage at the moment is just make sure you're using it, right? There's some times where we just went entire games without using it, which just means that we never get practice at it, we're never going to get value out of it, which means that we just want to be using it more often, right? So we can do more things, right? Do you have any questions about anything we've gone over?
No, I think I just need to try to practice and remember everything.
Yep. All right. Well then, I'm